Hi guys! So I asked my Instagram and Ask followers what video they wanted to see first, and everyone said the same thing. Basically, they all wanted to see a day in the life of video, but I was gonna do it today, but we went to the zoo, and tomorrow's my anniversary, so I'll probably get it done this weekend. So I'll still do that video. But I had two other big requests, which was labor and delivery and how I told my parents I was pregnant and how I found out. So this one's going to be how I found out I was pregnant and how I told my parents, because it's really a different kind of story. It's not your typical story for teenage pregnancy, I guess. So I was 17 when I got pregnant. And it was around November of 2013, and I was a senior in high school, and I missed school one day because I didn't feel well, and then I started having really, really sharp pains on my right side, and it got so bad where I had ended up passing out in school. And originally, when I would tell my parents about the really sharp pain, they just thought like I was exaggerating and I didn't want to go to school, so they didn't do much about it. They're like, "Oh, you'll be okay," and like I was like Googled all this stuff, and like there's a bunch of like scary things that could have happened, and I was like, "What if I'm gonna die?" So then, when I passed out in class, then my dad picked me up from school, and then the next day he was like, "You need to get in to see a doctor." And I hate the doctors, so like I was not looking forward to that at all. So I went in to see my doctor, and she was feeling around, and she asked all these questions, and she said, "Well, I'm pretty sure it's your gallbladder, and you might have to have it removed." And I was like, "What?" Because she thought I had gallstones in my gallbladder. And so then she scheduled me an ultrasound for like 2 days later, and yeah. So then I went to my mom took me to my ultrasound appointment, which was weird because I had never gotten one of those before. And they checked my gallbladder and like everything else in that area, my abdominal area, just to see what was wrong. And the radiologist lady, the ultrasound tech, she said like they're not allowed to tell you anything, but she was just like hinting that it was my kidney and not my gallbladder. So I was excited because if it was my gallbladder, I couldn't eat cheese or like milk or any of that, and I love cheese. I eat it a lot, so I was really excited. And then we went to Papa John's, Papa Murphy's, whichever Papa Murphy's, the one you bake in the oven. And I got like a really cheesy pizza. But then my doctor called saying, "Oh, we got the results back, and it's definitely your gallbladder. You're gonna have to have it taken out and all this." And I was like, "Oh, well, dang! I just ate what I wasn't supposed to eat." And then so my dad was like, "No, we're not gonna have it taken out right now. We're gonna get a second opinion." So he called Children's Hospital, and I met with a what are they called? Something specialist. I can't remember the name right now, but they specialize in gallbladders and livers. I don't know why I can't think of the name right now, but I met with her, and she was looking over the ultrasound results and all of this, and she was like, "Well, did you know that your right kidney is like inflamed? It's almost twice the size as your left kidney." And I was just like, "What?" And so that was kind of scary. I was like, "Oh God, there's a million things wrong with me right now." And so then she pressed on my stomach and did all this stuff, and she was like, "But I don't think it's your gallbladder." And she said, "There's sludge in your gallbladder, but it's not enough to where you'd have to have it removed." So I was like really excited. She's like, "But you need to see a kidney specialist because this could be a serious problem." And I was like, "Oh God, okay." So we were gonna set up an appointment with a kidney specialist, but then I I hadn't had blood tests done yet, and I needed blood tests done before that. So then I went back to meet with my regular doctor, and she had done blood tests for me. And so I got my blood tests done, and then those results came back, and she called me, and she was like, your liver enzyme levels are crazy high. Like, one of them, the normal was like a 34, and I was at like 110, and another one was like, I don't know, but they were like really high, like above the average. And so then my dad was like, okay, well, do you think it's more important for her to be checked out for her liver first or for her kidney? And then my doctor was like, well, these are so high, she definitely needs to go see someone for her liver. So we went to another hospital to meet with a liver specialist, and the guy was just like, yeah, these are really high. And then he felt around on my stomach, and then he was pushing on my stomach so hard it hurt, like. But by then the pains in my body were gone. Like, I was just all relying on this stuff from the blood tests. Like, I had felt a million times better. Because with the pain I had, I was like dying. Like, I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't go to school. Like, and like I got really, really hot, and then it got really, really cold. And it was terrible. But everything had gone away. And this is like the end of January. And by now, it's the end of January. So this has gone on through like almost 3 months. And so I had more blood tests done with what he did. And he was like, yeah, these levels are really, really high, but we don't know what's causing them. So I'm going to schedule you for an ultrasound on your liver, just a second one to do follow-up. And I was like, all right, great, another one. Because the first one I was like, ultrasounds are so weird. And so then I ended up going in for that one, and my dad took me in for that one. And the lady was like, she just started asking me questions, and then she was like, okay, well, we're gonna start this now. And as soon as she like put the thing on my stomach, she was like, she just kind of paused, because my dad was in the room with me, and she was like, did you ever do a pregnancy test? And I was like, no, like, they never asked me to. I never thought I needed to. Like, that was never even like a question with any of this. And she was like, oh, well, I would say you're pretty pregnant. And like, I started crying. Like, it was so scary. I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, and I had just had an ultrasound like a month and a half ago, and like nobody said anything. So I thought like, oh, maybe I'm like just barely pregnant or something. But yeah, so she was like, I'm gonna go call this liver doctor and blah 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 blah. And so then she left the room, and so clearly I wasn't the one who had to tell my dad, because he was in the room with me, and I was just crying. But he was really supportive, and he was just like, well, these things happen, it's gonna be okay. Then he stepped out to call my mom, and that's when my heart just like stopped. I was so scared, like, because my mom always like asked like, do you need like this and that, and like, oh man, yeah. So I was just like, I do not want to go home, because I just didn't want to face that. The lady came back in, and she said, well, we're gonna just finish up your ultrasound for the baby. And so we did that, and then after all the measurements and stuff, she's like, I'm gonna get you a due date. And so this is the first week of February. Yeah, it was right before I was leaving to Florida, because I go to Florida every year to go to my grandparents out there. And it was, yeah, right before then. It was a week before. And so then she was like, your due date is going to be April 25th. And I was like, oh, what? Like that? She's like, yeah, so you're about 7 months pregnant. And I was like, how can I be 7 months pregnant? Like, nobody, like, even thought that was a possibility or anything. But I looked at her like she was crazy, because I was like, well, there's no way. And she was like, well, there's a way. Like, there's a baby on the screen. And she's like, it's inside of you. And I was like, but I hadn't missed any of my periods or anything. Like, I had still been getting them, and I was not showing at all. Because you can even, like, even my friends, when I ended up telling them, they were like, what? There's no way, you're not pregnant. And especially when I told them I was 7 months pregnant. It was a really big surprise. And so, yeah, and then she was like, do you want to know the gender? Like, I could already know the gender, and it was like my first baby ultrasound. It was so weird. Like, I didn't even have a chance to think of what I wanted, like a boy or a girl. But yeah, so that's how that happened. And then we went home. Well, my dad like warned me on the car ride home. Your mom's emotional. Like, she's probably gonna be a little upset and all of this. And I got home and she's pretty furious with me. And it took a long time before she came around. But I think now that the baby's actually here, now that Arianna's here, she's better. But it took a long time, and it was scary because I was 7 months, and like I had to figure out everything, and I had no time to figure out anything. And yeah, so everything was really rushed, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't even have any options. Not that I would have like not had her, but I wish I had known sooner, because I would have had a lot more time to figure things out and get things ready and prepare. Like, I had to do that all in like 2 months. It was scary, and not even that, because like I already was going to Florida for a week and a half, so like that took out of time for me to get everything ready. It was pretty intense, but yeah. So I wasn't even the one who told my parents, which I wish I was, because I probably would have told them a little easier than that. But that is how I found out I was pregnant, and what my brother's like yelling at his friend on the computer, and how I told my parents, even though I didn't really tell them. But yeah, and I think it was like as soon as I got back from Florida, I had just gotten huge. Like, then you could tell I was pregnant. Like, it was like like she was hiding from everyone until like I told everyone, and then she was like, okay, now I'm gonna make my mommy look pregnant. I don't know, it was weird. But yeah. And if you have any requests or questions, just let me know in the thing below, and I'll put my Ask and Instagram and Twitter down there. Don't use my Twitter very often, but I'm always on Instagram. So yeah. I'll show you Arianna. She's sleeping though. So she's sleeping. Say bye, baby.